Forests are supposed to be peaceful escapes, but some are home to legends that grow darker with every step you take beneath the trees. In the heart of Chatham County, North Carolina, a strange patch of earth has defied explanation for centuries. Locals call it the Devil's Tramping Ground, a barren, circular clearing 40 feet across where nothing grows and the soil is scorched as if by some ancient fire. Surrounded by dense woods, the circle stands out like a scar. No grass, no weeds, not even a single wildflower dares to take root. The trees at its edge lean away as if recoiling from something unseen. By day, the clearing is eerily quiet, but at night the air grows heavy and the woods seem to hold their breath. For generations, stories have spread through the county. Stories of the devil himself pacing in circles, plotting his next move beneath the moonlight. Some say they've seen shadowy figures drifting between the trees, or heard the sound of heavy footsteps circling the barren ground when no one else was there. According to legend, the devil returns here night after night, his endless pacing burning the earth bare. Some believe his presence is what keeps the circle lifeless, a mark of evil that nature itself refuses to heal. Over the years, the tramping ground has drawn the curious and the brave. Campers have pitched their tents in the circle, only to flee before dawn, terrified by strange noises, flickering lights, and the feeling of being watched. One local recalls, "We heard footsteps circling our tent, but when we looked, there was nothing there, just the wind and the darkness pressing in." Others claim to have seen glowing red eyes watching from the tree line, or to have found their belongings mysteriously tossed outside the circle by morning, as if something refused to let them stay. The phenomenon has baffled scientists for decades. Soil samples have been collected and tested, but the results are always inconclusive. Some say the earth is poisoned, others blame a rare fungus, but no explanation has ever stuck. In the 1940s, a team from a local university spent weeks studying the site. Their instruments malfunctioned, compasses spun wildly, and their notes describe a palpable sense of dread that grew stronger after sunset. Old newspaper clippings from the 1800s tell of farmers who lost livestock near the circle, and of travelers who vanished after wandering too close. The stories have only grown with time. Some believe the tramping ground is a portal, a thin place where the veil between worlds is easily crossed. Paranormal investigators have reported sudden drops in temperature, strange lights, and voices whispering from the darkness. One investigator described seeing a faint blue glow hovering over the circle, only to have his camera battery die moments later. "It felt like the forest was watching us," he wrote, "and it didn't want us there." Local elders tell tales passed down through families, of Native American warnings, of strange fires that never spread, of animals refusing to cross the circle's edge. One story tells of a hunter whose dog ran into the circle and refused to return, howling at something invisible until dawn. The hunter never spoke of what he saw, but he never hunted those woods again. Skeptics have tried to debunk the legend, but even they admit the place feels wrong. Some say it's just superstition. Others suspect a natural anomaly, but no one can explain the persistent sense of unease. The Devil's Tramping Ground has become a rite of passage for local teens, a stop for ghost tours, and a magnet for those drawn to the unknown. Some leave with nothing but stories. Others leave changed. One visitor described a sudden, overwhelming urge to run, as if something was pushing him out of the circle. Another claimed to see a dark shape flicker at the edge of his vision, gone when he turned to look. Despite the warnings, the circle remains. Farmers refuse to plow near it. Hikers avoid it, and those who linger too long often regret it. The forest seems to reclaim what it can, but the circle endures, untouched, unexplained, and deeply unsettling. Whether it is cursed ground, a natural oddity, or the devil's own path, the Devil's Tramping Ground has resisted explanation for as long as anyone can remember. And if you ever find yourself in those woods after dark, remember, some places are legends for a reason. Stretching across more than 1 million acres of dense forest in southern New Jersey lies the Pine Barrens, a wilderness shrouded in centuries of folklore. The trees here grow thick and close, their needles carpeting the ground in silence, while the wind whispers secrets through the pines. Locals call it the Pinelands, a place where the soil is sandy and poor, and the land is dotted with ghost towns, abandoned mills, and the ruins of forgotten settlements. The forest seems endless, swallowing roads and villages alike. Its most infamous legend is that of the Jersey Devil, a creature said to haunt the woods with leathery wings, hooves, and a piercing scream that chills the blood. For over 250 years, the story has terrified generations. The legend began in the 1700s, when a woman known as Mother Leeds, burdened with 12 children, is said to have cursed her 13th child in a moment of despair. On a stormy night, the child was born deformed, sprouted wings, and flew up the chimney, vanishing into the darkness. Since then, the Jersey Devil has been blamed for livestock deaths, strange footprints, and unexplained noises echoing through the trees. Some say it has the head of a horse, the wings of a bat, and a blood-curdling scream that can be heard for miles. In the 1800s, newspapers reported sightings of a winged beast terrorizing the countryside. Farmers found their animals slaughtered, and footprints unlike any known creature pressed into the mud. In 1909, panic swept through southern New Jersey. Hundreds of people claimed to see the Jersey Devil: school children, police officers, and even the mayor of Camden. Schools closed, factories shut down, and armed posses searched the woods in vain. One newspaper headline read, "Devil spreads terror in New Jersey." Eyewitnesses described a creature with glowing red eyes, flapping wings, and a screech that froze them in their tracks. Even today, the Pine Barrens are a place of mystery. Locals tell stories of late-night drives when something darts across the road, or of campers who hear heavy footsteps circling their tents, only to find nothing but hoofprints in the morning. One man recalls, "We were camping near Batstow Village when we heard a scream, high, shrill, and not human. The next morning our camp was torn apart and we found strange tracks leading into the trees." Paranormal investigators have spent countless nights searching for evidence. Some report sudden drops in temperature, malfunctioning equipment, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Others claim to have captured strange lights on camera, glowing orbs drifting between the trees, or flashes of movement just beyond the reach of their flashlights. The Pine Barrens themselves are haunting. The soil is sandy and poor, and the land is dotted with the remains of old ironworks, sawmills, and entire towns left to rot. Fog drifts low over the ground, and the silence is broken only by the distant call of an owl or the snap of a twig. Some say the forest is cursed, a place where compasses spin and travelers lose their way. There are stories of people who vanished without a trace, their last footprints leading into the pines. Strange lights are said to drift among the trees, and travelers have described hearing whispers on paths where no one is walking. Some believe the Jersey Devil is not alone. Other spirits and creatures are said to haunt the Barrens, drawn by its isolation and darkness. In the small towns that border the forest, stories are passed down through generations. Children are warned not to wander after dark, and old-timers swap tales of things seen and heard in the woods. One local legend tells of a group of teenagers who dared each other to spend the night deep in the Barrens. They returned at dawn, pale and shaken, refusing to speak of what they saw, except to say they would never go back. Paranormal investigators who visit the Pine Barrens often leave convinced the place has a presence of its own, a watchful, malevolent energy that makes even skeptics uneasy. Whether the Jersey Devil is real, imagined, or a metaphor for the Pine Barrens' isolation, the legend has endured for centuries. The forest remains a place of beauty and fear, where the line between myth and reality blurs. And still today, drivers on back roads say they glimpse wings in their headlights before the night swallows them whole. The Pine Barrens keep their secrets, and the legend of the Jersey Devil lives on, waiting for the next traveler to cross its path. Tucked into the misty hills of northwestern Connecticut lies Dark Entry Forest, a place whose very name seems to warn visitors away. The forest is thick with ancient trees, their branches tangled overhead, blocking out the sun and muffling every sound. Even in daylight, a heavy silence hangs between the trunks, broken only by the occasional call of a distant crow. Beneath this canopy, the ruins of Dudleytown are slowly being swallowed by moss and shadow. Founded in the 1700s, Dudleytown was once a small, hopeful settlement. But the land seemed cursed from the start. Crops withered, livestock vanished, and tragedy struck family after family. According to legend, the Dudley family brought a curse with them from England, a curse that followed them across the ocean and took root in these woods. Some say the curse began with an ancestor accused of treason, whose misfortune doomed his descendants. Over the years, the town's misfortunes multiplied. Residents fell ill with strange ailments, some descended into madness, and others simply disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. Old newspaper clippings tell of unexplained deaths and entire families lost to the woods. By the early 1800s, Dudleytown was abandoned. The forest crept in, erasing roads and swallowing homes. Today, only crumbling stone foundations and the faint outlines of cellar holes remain, hidden beneath layers of fallen leaves. Locals call it cursed ground. Some refuse to set foot in the woods, warning that the land itself is tainted. Visitors report overwhelming feelings of dread, as if the forest is watching them, waiting for them to make a wrong turn. Some hikers have captured glowing orbs and streaks of light in their photographs, phenomena they swear were not visible to the naked eye. Others describe hearing their names whispered from the shadows, or seeing fleeting shapes dart between the trees. Paranormal investigators are drawn to Dark Entry Forest, hoping to capture evidence of the unexplained. Many report their compasses spinning wildly, batteries draining in seconds, and sudden drops in temperature that leave them shivering even in summer. One investigator described finding scratches on his arms after a night in the woods, though he remembered nothing unusual. Another recalled a sense of being followed, the crunch of footsteps always just behind him, vanishing when he turned to look. There are stories of visitors who entered the forest laughing, only to emerge hours later pale and silent, unable to explain what they'd seen. Some never return at all, their cars found abandoned at the edge of the woods. One local recalls, "I grew up nearby, but we never played in those woods. My grandmother said the trees remember and they don't forgive." Another tells of hearing a child's laughter echoing through the trees, though no one else was around. Today, it is private property and heavily patrolled, with trespassers warned to stay out. Despite the warnings, thrill seekers and ghost hunters still sneak into the forest at night, drawn by the promise of a brush with the unknown. Some leave with nothing but stories. Others leave convinced they were not alone. But stories continue to circulate of those who sneak in under the cover of night and leave shaken, convinced the forest is alive with something it does not want outsiders to see. Some say the forest itself seems to shift, paths twisting and landmarks vanishing as if the woods are trying to keep their secrets hidden. A few have reported hearing the distant toll of a bell, though no church remains in Dudleytown. Whether cursed by history, haunted by restless spirits, or simply scarred by centuries of tragedy, Dark Entry Forest remains one of New England's most unnerving legends, a place where the trees themselves seem to whisper warnings. In the end, the truth of Dark Entry Forest may never be known. But for those who wander beneath its ancient boughs, the sense of unease is real, and the legends endure, whispered from tree to tree, waiting for the next curious soul to listen. Just outside Fall River, Massachusetts, lies Freetown Fall River State Forest, a sprawling, tangled expanse of pine and oak, shrouded in mist and legend. The forest is infamous for its connection to the Bridgewater Triangle, one of America's most active paranormal hotspots, where the line between reality and myth is razor thin. At dawn, the woods are silent but for the distant call of a crow. By night, the trees seem to close in, their branches twisting overhead, blotting out the moon and muffling every sound. Locals say the forest is alive, watching, waiting for those who dare to wander off the path. The forest's history is steeped in violence and mystery. Native American tribes once considered this land sacred, warning that it was a place of spirits and power. Some believe a curse was placed on the forest after the land was seized centuries ago, a curse that lingers in the soil and shadows. Old grave markers and weathered stones are scattered among the trees, silent reminders of those who came before, and perhaps of those who never left. In modern times, the forest has been the site of bizarre murders, ritualistic activity, and countless reports of the supernatural. Police have investigated strange disappearances, and some cases remain unsolved to this day. Some say the forest is a magnet for darkness, drawing those with sinister intent. Others whisper of secret gatherings deep among the trees, where fires burn and strange symbols are carved into the earth. Hikers tell of being followed by shadowy figures that vanish when confronted. One woman recalls, "I felt eyes on me the whole time. When I turned, there was nothing but the wind in the branches, but I know I wasn't alone." Others have seen fleeting shapes dart between the trees, or heard footsteps crunching in the undergrowth, always just out of sight. Strange lights float through the trees, and sudden pockets of freezing air stop travelers in their tracks. Some describe orbs of blue or green light weaving between the trunks, vanishing as quickly as they appear. One local hunter remembers, "I saw a light hovering above the ground. It moved like it was searching for something. When I tried to follow, it disappeared, and the air turned so cold I could see my breath even in summer." The forest is also home to tales of cryptid creatures. Giant birds with wingspans wider than a man is tall, mysterious humanoids glimpsed at the edge of vision, and even Bigfoot-like beings said to roam the deepest thickets. In 1978, a group of teenagers claimed to see a massive, shadowy figure cross the path ahead of them. It was taller than any man, covered in dark hair, and it vanished without a sound, one said. Their story has never changed. Law enforcement has investigated several crimes linked to the forest, including suspected occult rituals, only adding to its sinister reputation. Some officers refuse to patrol the woods after dark, citing unexplained noises and the feeling of being watched. One former ranger described finding a circle of stones, blackened by fire, with strange symbols etched into the ground. "It felt wrong," he said, "like the forest itself wanted us gone." Paranormal investigators report hearing chanting, stumbling upon strange stone arrangements, and capturing unexplained voices on recorders. Some leave with nothing but static. Others leave convinced they were not alone. One investigator recalls, "We heard a voice whisper our names, but when we played back the tape, there was only silence, except for the sound of leaves rustling, as if something was moving just out of sight." Locals often warn outsiders to avoid wandering too far from the trails, because some who enter the deeper parts of the forest never return. Old wooden signs, faded and cracked, mark the boundaries of the safe paths. There are stories of hikers who vanished without a trace, their cars found abandoned at the trailhead, their footprints leading into the woods and simply stopping. Whether fueled by legend, genuine paranormal activity, or human darkness feeding on myth, Freetown Forest has become a place where reality and folklore blur. The trees seem to whisper secrets, and the wind carries voices from the past. Some say the forest itself shifts, paths twisting and landmarks vanishing, as if the woods are trying to keep their secrets hidden. A few have reported hearing the distant toll of a bell, though no church stands within miles. For those who live nearby, the forest is not just trees and trails. It is a reminder that some land carries a weight that time cannot erase, and some woods are better left alone. Even on the brightest days, a sense of unease lingers beneath the canopy. And as night falls, the legends come alive. The forest grows darker, the air colder, and the sense of being watched becomes impossible to ignore. Freetown Fall River State Forest endures, untamed, unexplained, and forever haunted by the stories whispered beneath its ancient trees. North Carolina, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. 4 forests where the trees don't just stand silent, they whisper legends too dark to ignore. Like, subscribe and turn on notifications for more tales of the places where myths refuse to die. And remember, some legends aren't just told, they're waiting.